What'd you say? I'm not mad at you. Huh?
What type of mood are you in?
I'm completely fine.
Did you start?
Yeah,
Oh, we're live?
we are live.
Oh.
Fireside.
Just add an E.
I put Trump's in trouble there, but I don't really believe it. I don't really think he's in trouble.
I have to go back in there and check to see who won the Slipknot thing.
Oh, have people been...
Yeah, they did, and I responded the first while, and then I forgot to go back in.
Jumping the gun, aren't ya? Well, yes and no.
Oh, look, it's working this time.
I know.
Oh,
We must have selected a certain setting, huh?
no clue. Maybe that update.
Yeah, it's very possible. What is this? There you go, buddy, old pal. Trump 2020. Yeah, it's probably what's going to happen.
I literally don't see how it can be anything other than. I really don't.
There will be no impeachment. Type 22 if you can hear. I'm like clear and you're kind of blurry. You see that?
Yeah, that's because you're sitting up close and I'm not.
Type 22 if you can hear.
I always sit back.
Can you hear me? 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 Okay, they can hear. All right. Well, I don't know how long we're going to be on for. But
so that means 2 to 3 hours.
Raul is saying Trump is going to win the next election. This is just political Democratic shenanigans for me to enjoy watching while eating my Terrell Owens popcorn. I don't know about the Terrell Owens popcorn, but yeah. Concentration camps were good. Dirt on Biden. Impeachment. Yeah.
I don't get that.
Well, he didn't get impeached for supposedly making concentration
camps.
But,
on the border?
But he did some dirt on Biden, so now, they have to impeach him.
So what was the dirt he did on Biden? What? I'm not.
So what happened? What's up, Dirk? What's up, Silver? What happened? What?
I just said, hey to them.
Well, what happened was that apparently Trump was on with the Ukrainians and he was trying to dig up dirt on Joe Biden's son. His son was in some sort of compromising situation with the Ukraine.
Yeah.
And Trump was trying to get a contact from the Ukraine. Allegedly was trying to work on a contact with Ukraine to work with Rudy Giuliani to expose something that Joe Biden's son was doing. And so it's this whole Trump is using foreign assets to go after yada, 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 yada. A lot of people really believe that, and there was a whistleblower, somebody who leaked this information to the press. And technically, a whistleblower is somebody that has firsthand knowledge of a situation and then rats it out. This person technically isn't really a whistleblower because he heard it from a third party.
Oh. But I just don't understand. What does it matter? Like, if Biden's son is doing something, that doesn't mean Biden is.
Well, yeah, but it looks bad for Biden.
Yeah.
But a lot of people, but the Democrats are saying this is an impeachable offense. It's got Trump working with a foreign power in order to dig up dirt on a U.S. president, which isn't technically true because Biden's son is not a U.S. president, but it obviously reflects bad on Biden.
Yeah.
That's the idea.
I mean, I just think that Biden reflects bad on Biden.
Right.
And I don't like, I'm with you. Like, Medicare for all would be great, but I just don't think that. I look at Biden and I'm like, no.
Well, Biden isn't even promising Medicare for all. He's come out and
he's not.
Oh no, he's spoken against Medicare for all.
Oh my word.
Biden's strategy is to go with Obamacare. Pete Buttigieg. Pete Buttigieg.
Ben, well, Vin is doing something bad, but I don't think it makes Dorian look bad.
Right. Shout out to the big homie. Yeah, but what's up, Stanley? Yeah, I this is obvious. Oh. To me, a lot of people are saying that this is actually a setup by Trump. Mm-hmm. Because the media wasn't going to cover Biden's son getting compromised by the Ukrainians. They weren't going to do that. So, but if they have some Trump... Right. So now notice, now we're talking about Biden's son.
Yep. It's true.
Right?
It's true.
So if these people... This is a giant gamble. And I was actually going to shoot a Middle America episode on this, but I decided to just hang out with you guys instead. But, you know, this might be the greatest... If they set this up, this might be the greatest manipulation of media ever.
What did they say? That Trump is playing 4D chess?
Yeah. It's going to be a problem. It's going to be a problem. And you know, honestly, Nancy Pelosi has been the grown-up in the room. She's held the line. She said, we're not doing impeachment. All the poll numbers across the board. Usually with polls, you'll get different variations. Mm-hmm. You know, if you get a liberal poll, it'll... Yeah. All the polls across the board are saying that Americans in the majority do not want impeachment. And Pelosi has been holding the line. But a couple days ago, AOC said the scandal is not what Trump is doing. The scandal is that he's not being impeached by the DNC. So AOC is leveraging all of her weight to go against people like Pelosi. And so finally, it looks to me like Pelosi's cracked. Look, even if he gets impeached, that doesn't mean you're going to get him out of office. Bill Clinton was impeached. Some of you are old enough to remember Bill Clinton was impeached, but he didn't get, make him leave, he didn't get booted from office.
What does it mean?
Nixon, Nixon, left before he could officially get impeached, like officially and completely. So nothing is going to come of this. Even if he gets impeached, he's not going to lose his seat as the president. Mm-hmm. It's not going to happen.
Yeah, no,
it's unbelievable that the Democrats still haven't gotten it. It's unbelievable to me. You know, AOC she's still in her 20s. She doesn't understand how stuff works in the political sphere.
This is true too. They should think though, if you impeach Trump, we get Pence.
Exactly, but they're gambling that
these actions will flip it, so people will vote.
Well, no, what I'm saying is Pence is nowhere near as popular as Trump.
Oh yeah.
You know, Trump is a singular type of figure.
He really is.
He's literally once in a lifetime as a political figure. So it's like LeBron James. It's like, I know. You know, if he leaves, sure, you'll have a number two, but the Democrats feel very strongly that they could beat Mike Pence in an election. Mm-hmm. It's obvious to me that they do not believe that they can beat Trump in a general election. That's clear.
Yeah.
Like, you wouldn't need to be doing all this stuff if you thought you had a viable chance of winning. And so the march toward impeachment to me just seems to be, there's no way we can beat Trump, in the ring. Mm-hmm. So let's get him out before he can even fight. But I just think it's going to be terrible. I think
so if you try to impeach him and he gets impeached, he can still try to run?
Well, yeah, he could still be the president. Like I said,
in 2020, he can still try to run again.
100%. Again, Clinton got impeached during the whole Lewinsky scandal and the Ken Starr report and all that. He got impeached, and everybody gave him a senatorial censure. They basically said, what you did was bad. And then he got out in front of the lawn and said, we need to end the politics of personal destruction. And then he said, I've got to make up to my God and my wife, and, God bless America. And he walked off, and he was fine after that. His approval ratings went back up, yada, yada, yada.
Yeah, but no, I'm saying I'm surprised that you can get impeached and then rerun for president in 2020.
Well, I mean, I think the framers of our Constitution and our republic,
a little birdie,
they wanted to make it extremely difficult to throw somebody out of the chair of the president, and the reason for that is because you have an election cycle, so you've already got it built in to where if there's a serious problem, just handle it in the next election. So it's extremely difficult. You've got to do something mega egregious, like death penalty worthy, to really get booted out of office. So I don't know if AOC really is too young to remember what happened during the Clinton administration. But this guy is more bulletproof than Clinton. I mean, you got to understand, Clinton almost got taken down by Monica Lewinsky. He almost got taken down by Lewinsky.
Yep.
And that was a walk in the park for Trump.
Oh, I know.
I mean, Trump is grabbing by the junk, yada, yada, yada. And he was completely fine. He shrugged it off and kept it moving. I thought that was the end of him.
Yeah.
So I don't know, I really blame AOC for this. And Cenk from the Young Turks. I mean, I think that these guys...
Michael Oliver wanted to respond to that.
The media loves Trump. Without him, they have no content.
I think it's both. It's a... What do you say? A symbiotic relationship?
Yeah.
Like, he loves the media as well. He says all he has to say, but he's constantly putting stuff out there that makes it explode and gives him that free advertisement.
Yeah, I mean, part of me just feels like I wish somebody in the Democratic Party would say, hey, this is too good. Like, really? Oh, he's on the phone with Ukraine. Like, we've heard this story before. And they're so tone deaf. Elio Mike posted something on Twitter about how tone deaf these people are. They're so tone deaf that they really don't understand that the American public is looking at this like, oh my gosh, here we go. Oh, really? Oh, he's with the Ukraine now. He was with the Russians before. You dragged this all around to freaking Russia and the Soviet Union for 3 years, and nothing came of it. But now all of a sudden, it's the Ukraine. Okay. All right. The Clinton impeachment cost Republicans the House. Right, Moshmaster. Right. Because it was so unpopular. Because then what ended up happening was Bill Clinton turned it around to him being the victim. And the only person I felt sorry for really doing that entire thing was Hillary. I didn't, Bill wasn't a victim, but I mean, Hillary, God almighty. I mean, he completely disrespected her. And
yes, I felt bad for Hillary, but I also feel bad for Monica, believe it or not. Because I feel like she was so young. And, like, to get sucked into something like that by someone that's older and has that position, I think that she might have gotten in over her head. And then really, she got painted across her name. You'd think one thing when you hear her name. And that's all she's known for. It's like...
Yeah, but she saved the dress. I mean, she knew what she was doing. She angled herself into she was not a... And I'm always...
Thanks, Alex.
I'm always the one that kind of sticks up for the ladies, but... She angled herself perfectly. She saved the dress for, I mean,
Yeah, but like I said,
I don't have a lot of pity for her.
I don't necessarily know that she saved the dress because she was angling.
Well,
that's a pretty big deal.
She was trying to get herself a job at MTV and all this shit. I mean, yeah. You wouldn't be feeling bad for her if I was Bill and you were Hillary, believe you me.
No, I would not.
She was in her 20s, wasn't she? She wasn't a kid. She was not younger than AOC. She was... Yeah,
Steven, that's what I'm saying. I mean, she was young. Like, I agree.
Yeah.
If that ever happened with you and some girl, I would have no mercy on the girl. But... I'm not in that situation, so I can look at the situation and say, Monica was a young kid, and you know how girls are about power a lot of times, and, a powerful older man, and...
Well, I do. That's why I say that I didn't really see her as a victim, and I still don't to this day. I mean, she was with a married man. Yeah, she was young, but I think everybody's old enough to know that you don't do that with married men. And like I said, she was... But anyway, I don't want to get off the topic. The point is, the Republicans, it was looking like a very ugly personal attack against Bill, and he played the victim card very, very well, and it resulted in the Republicans looking very, very terrible.
Mm-hmm.
And it hurt the Republican Party for quite some time.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, it's I just don't see this turning out well for the Democrats. I find
I
the timing a
agree.
little coincidental. They started making a big deal out of Trump's call with Ukraine, which shed light on Biden's past shady dealings with them, and boom, now they're willing to impeach. Yeah, yeah. I don't believe that Nancy Pelosi really believes that impeachment is the way to go, but she's kind of between a rock. Thank you very much, Moshmaster. She's between a rock and a hard place. What's she gonna do? The AOC, it's amazing to me. Like, somebody said something about, the Greta girl and the dude from Parkland and AOC. They were like, these Democrats are being led by children. And AOC, I want to hear what the Parkland kid had to say, because he survived a very traumatic experience. And I want to hear what Greta has to say.
Mm-hmm.
But AOC, to me, is a child. She's a rookie. She's never held a political platform in her life.
Yeah.
And she had Young Turks behind her. She did not grow up in the ghetto. She grew up upper middle class. So she's trying to stunt like she was just some regular ghetto person.
Yeah.
And now she's got all these ideals or whatever, and has no concept of politics and how to play the game and when to pull back and when to go after it. And because she's able to manipulate social media so well, and the old guard Democrats are so far behind, it's basically coming. And Trump figured out social media. He was way ahead of the game, and AOC is not far behind him, and the Democrats don't know how to handle themselves. What can you do? So now they're being basically run around by this child.
Yeah.
And, I blame AOC for this. I mean, and of course the Young Turks, because they're, Cenk waged war on the DNC after Trump got nominated. He got all emotional and he waged war on the DNC, and he's bound and determined to kind of play the Joker role and be a chaos element and destroy the party. And so if you want to destroy the party, this is definitely the way to do it.
Mm-hmm.
It's unbelievable.
You need to respond to that one.
I always like to know, if everything else fails to rid Trump, what is the anti-Trump's plan? A necessary evil coming? Right, Moshmaster. I mean, I shudder to think about what these people are capable of doing, but it's clear it's just obvious to me that the DNC does not believe they can beat Trump in a one-on-one fight, and they're bound and determined to prop up Biden, because Biden is kind of like the last establishment candidate they have that's gonna take money from all these companies, etc., and spread the wealth around. And they don't want a progressive in office. The DNC has made that absolutely clear. They do not want a progressive in office. Everybody knows what they did.
Did you say that AOC was like a child?
100%. 100%.
Well, you're not.
Here's Ben. Just because she isn't your candidate doesn't make her not an adult. No, ageism is definitely a thing. I think I explained what I meant by the term child, in the sense that she's extremely young in regard to the position that she holds. She's still in her 20s, and she's a member of Congress. But when I said child, and I'll stand by it, she doesn't understand the political milieu that she's in, and she doesn't understand how a common, regular person is hearing what she has to say. She single-handedly stopped Amazon from coming to New York, and there are a lot of New Yorkers that would have had jobs right now that don't because of her, and she doesn't understand that stuff. Her numbers reflect the fact that she's not as popular. In her echo chamber, she's a messianic figure. But outside of her echo chamber, she doesn't understand that she's not resonating with people. So
Moshmaster, that's inappropriate, and there's no reason to talk about her like that. Like, just, I mean, focus on what she's putting herself in the public for, her political views and stuff like that. There's don't don't do that.
yeah, and she has made it chaotic. I would not be surprised if Trump did not have.
Yeah.
I would be surprised if he did not have
Yep.
narcissistic
Yep.
personality disorder.
Thanks, Mosh.
I would not be surprised at all if Trump had narcissistic personality disorder. The issue is
Yeah, I agree.
What does that have to do with being able to run a country? Look, AOC had all these opinions about Israel. They talked to her. She goes, "Oh, I'm not the expert in that." She's made so many gaffes already, and it's understandable because of her age why she has these gaffes and her, I mean, it's obvious that civics was not her, I'm not trying to be crazy here, but it's clear that civics was not her, favorite subject in high school. And as I've said many times, I do not think that AOC is stupid. I think anybody that can angle themselves into those positions of power and authority in the United States is you've got to have a certain character mix and a certain talent mix in order to do that. So I've never went around with the AOC is stupid thing, but she's very inexperienced and she's very idealistic. And most people who are successful in life can thrive in the gap between the way the world should be and the way the world actually is. And she's not one of those people. It just seems to me that these progressives are bound and determined to destroy the party. And they're of the opinion that, giving Trump 4 more years is a good way to punish the DNC. I mean, it looks like that to me. I mean, what can you do?
Do you think that she's looking at the bigger picture and a lot of people are not?
Who, AOC?
Yeah.
Well, Melton, how do you account for her numerous gaffes? I mean, she hasn't been in the public eye long, and she's had some really, really significant gaffes, bro. So I'm like I said, I don't have any personal issue against her, but she's made some pretty significant gaffes that I'm sure you're well aware of. How do you explain that? Whether or not she was a poli-sci major doesn't detract from the fact that it's obvious to me that she doesn't have a grasp of basic American civics. I mean, some of the stuff that she gaffed on, you need for your...
Yeah, some people are asking, what are some of these gaps?
You need for your citizenship in America. So, like, dialogue with me. I know you're not going to call, but, like, help me out here. AOC called out Trump and Pelosi 2 days ago. I agree, MB. And I believe that that's a major reason why Pelosi is doing what she's doing now, is because she's being bullied by AOC and her, 60 trillion Twitter followers. It's a crazy world that we're in right now.
So what are the gaps? I'm not really, I mean, I've seen
we could actually
Biden out there.
We can actually post a YouTube clip. So I'll give you guys, I'll send you guys the montage.
Yeah, and then it's gonna put it right up in here too.
Yeah.
Perfect. Can't you just play it over here?
Yes.
And then we can hear it. And
you called her inexperienced. Well, yeah, MB, she's inexperienced. I mean, she wouldn't even deny that. Of course she's inexperienced. And it shows.
Sori are live. Yes. We
Look
are.
at Silver. American physics are different than other physics. Gravity is crooked. Inertia only works half the time. Crazy place. Okay, do it, MB. Do it. Let's see what happens. Do it. Hold them accountable. We'll see what happens, MB. We'll see what comes of this entire impeachment debacle with Trump. Go for it. It's ridiculous. It's unbelievable to me.
Is that true, Leah, or are you just making that up?
What?
She said she's got more experience bartending. Was she really a bartender?
Oh, yeah, she was. She was. But I'm not mad at her. I'm not mad at her for that. There's nothing wrong with that.
Well, no, I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with that, but that's not what you picture of somebody when you're talking about somebody who's inexperienced and stuff, and then you're like, wait, she used to be a bartender. It just doesn't sound like she has like political experience
Well,
in her back. You know what I'm saying?
what is Trump? Trump.
Yeah, but we never
He
said
had
that
he
Trump
had
should be the base of all.
Yeah, but here's the difference between Trump's inexperience politically and AOC's. Trump has a bunch of life experience, and Trump knows how to manipulate people on large scales in order
Oh
to get
yeah,
what he wants. AOC doesn't understand that.
yeah,
That's obvious. That's what I'm saying.
yeah.
Um, so I mean, so here's a whole
Can you hold
montage.
off like 2 minutes?
Yeah, I'm not playing it, but I put the link. I put the link in there. Again, MB, whether or not it's good or not in your opinion, what I'm saying is the man understands America as a whole a lot better than AOC, and that's revealed by the fact that he won an election that literally no human being on the planet except for him and 5 people believed he could win because he knew how to manipulate the media. Hillary Clinton outspent him 2-1. Hillary outspent him 2-1, and he still kicked the crap out of her. That's what I'm talking about. Well, it doesn't matter, NR Pro, whether or not you're older than me. That's not the question. The question is, look at what she's done. Look at the positions she's taken. Look at her talking about being inaugurated as a senator, as a member of Congress. Look at her talking about the different houses, the different branches of government. Here's her talking about Israel. She's got all these opinions on the Israeli-Palestinian conflict.
Well, so I think that those things that you talk about, that you discuss, are part of the course of human evolution.
Ocasio-Cortez says she can't afford to move to Washington. She can't make a deposit on an apartment in D.C. until she gets her paycheck.
She said she couldn't make her deposit on her apartment in D.C., and that was the whole thing about, oh, I'm so poor, I'm the common man. She's got $15K in savings.
How do people know that? Why is that public knowledge?
The average American doesn't even have a $2,000 emergency fund. She's got $15K in savings. Does that not count as a gaffe? I mean, look, I'm not mad at her for lying because she's a politician. What I'm mad at her for is, didn't you know that if you put something like that out on public record, that people are going to find ways to get at you and show that you're not who you say you are? That's what bothered me about that situation. I wasn't really mad at her for lying.
Connected most to an electorate when they were fighting for these seats, when they got these seats, when they were campaigning most, when we had more of an American middle class. Mm-hmm. But that upper middle class doesn't exist anymore.
But when you look at what it was, that number.
See, at least in the occupation.
The video's right there. You can talk all of it you want. And look, I'm probably on AOC's side in the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. I've always had issues with it, but again, she just doesn't know. She's made a significant amount of gats in what do you? Here's enter sources required. I put the link in the video. You can watch it yourself, MB. Watch it yourself.
There it is again.
It's unbelievable. Unbelievable. So, my savings were a bag of nickels I found on the street when I was 13. If you'd have put that in a Roth IRA there, Silver, you'd probably be at $15K right now. Okay, and our pro. Again, what I'm saying is, she does not know how to read the American people properly. If she did, she would not be pushing for impeachment. That's what I'm saying. There is no way that this is going to end well for Democrats, and even leftists are saying this. It's not me. leftists are saying this. And Nancy Pelosi was trying to hold the line for the party because she knows how wildly unpopular impeachment would be. And she's collapsed under the weight of the AOC pressure. And so what I'm saying is this is we need adults in the room. If you're gonna dethrone Donald Trump, you need to be smart, you need to be intelligent, and you need to be able to know the pulse of American people. And this to me just seems completely wrong-headed.
Yeah.
Completely wrong-headed.
Tosco, people are trying they want to try to impeach Trump because he was working with the foreign government possibly on finding information on Biden's son. Did I say that right, honey?
Yeah. Well, yeah. Tulsi to me, Jonathan is what the type of mindset that, you know, if you call yourself a progressive, if you call, you know, we're basically, I think we're basically right center, but Medicare for all is a giant apple that we'd be willing to jump ship for. So, you know, Tulsi is perfect. She makes sense. She's reasoned. She's calm, and she's an adult, and she makes me feel comfortable with her at the helm of the party. AOC to me is just, you know.
I mean, we just want to see the most lives possible saved. So whichever candidate can accomplish that, that's where we're headed for. So Medicare for all is a big one for us because you have people dying over not having insulin. That's crazy. Like, this is America. Like, this shouldn't be happening.
Yeah. So, I mean, and it would not surprise me if this entire thing was a setup by Trump himself. It would not surprise me at all. It's clear in the patterns of his tweets a couple months ago. He would tweet something, and then the very next day there was some horrible legislation that he passed with the death penalty and with immigration. He timed that perfectly with his tweets.
Right.
So he's already played leftists and leftist media. It wouldn't surprise me if he was doing it again. And it wouldn't surprise me if the leftists still don't get it.
Right.
Because this is where we are.
4D chess, yep.
You're obsessed with AOC. No, I'm not obsessed with AOC.
No, the thing is, when you say, Raymond, you said Medicare for all, someone has to pay for it somewhere. There are so many people that are paying thousands of dollars for paying out of pocket for their hospital bills. It's ridiculous. Like, if we all just spread the cost of that in our taxes, and then the insurance companies and stuff would be able to lower those costs because they're charging, what was the cost of making that insulin, and then they charge hundreds of dollars for it.
Yeah, it was horrible. But I agree with you, Death Fan. Trump has kept us out of war. He's had a measured response to the Iranians. That's good. I agree. And I also believe that if Hillary was in office right now, we would absolutely be in an armed conflict, either with Syria or with Russia or with Iran. Hillary was absolutely a war hawk. She loved war. She loved killing, obviously, when she talked about Gaddafi. So I agree. But Tulsi would keep us out of wars too. And not only would she keep us out of new wars, she would be pulling out of Afghanistan and all the rest of it. So... yeah, so I mean, look, I completely get it. I'm not saying that everything about Trump is bad. What I'm saying is, in order for the left to accomplish the goals that is sort of the marching orders for the left wing right now, obviously one of them is Medicare for all. And if you look at our current situation, it's obvious we're not going to get that if we get Trump reelected in 2020. I haven't even heard Trump even address the healthcare issue yet. All he did to address the healthcare issue was try to completely and totally destroy Obamacare.
Raymond, if I was up there, the vets would have primo care. You guys would be set right up. I think it's crazy what what people who have fought for our country go through when they get back. I literally, I cannot believe. I feel like it is so disrespectful the way that you people are handled when you guys get back after sacrificing so much. I just think that's crazy.
And there's Ranter Man. Gaddafi was such a fluffy bunny. Well, Gaddafi, you go ask any Libyan about life before and after Gaddafi. See, this is what happens when you're an American or a European. You get to chill in the comforts of your own home, and then you can say things like, "Oh, Gaddafi wasn't a fluffy bunny." Yeah,
Martinez, that's insane.
ask the folks in Libya right now. Who took over Libya after Hillary killed him? Who took over Libya after Gaddafi was assassinated by Hillary? That would be Al Qaeda, correct? Who? Anyway.
M Death Fan, is that? Hey, Martinez, is that true? M Death Fan is saying that Trump made it so vets can go. So Martinez said, "I'm a vet as well. 22 years. It took 2.5 years to get a bridge in my mouth." M Death Fan is saying that Trump has made it so vets can go to non-VA doctors. Is that true?
Yeah,
other vets.
Trump has done a lot of good. He also canceled student debt for vets. I think he's
Good.
He's done a lot.
Yes, he did. Raymond is a vet, and he said yes. Oh, okay, that's good. What?
The fake left centrist, aka neoliberal hot sauce Hillary. Yeah, it was so insulting to me. She was so insulting to me. I could not stand her. Good night. Yeah, M Death Fan, you don't need to put your credentials out there, bro. We know what it is. We know what it is. Unbelievable.
Martinez, yes, we can go out in town now.
That's true, Sean. The left will not give Trump any credit for what he has done well. And what happens is when you don't do that, then you really begin to think that he hasn't done anything well. And then they're all shocked when all these people come out and vote for him. That's exactly the point, Sean, is that they're so bent on not giving the man any credit and not seeing anything redemptive about him. But the rest of America, who's not in their hyper leftist echo chamber, is like, well, shit, things are going pretty good here. And that's why he's going to win again. It's this refusal to look at reality.
Yep.
It's killing the left. It's making them completely tone deaf.
Aw, Pony. I'll send you an air hug.
Yeah, Gaddafi was a leader of the African Union. He was about to do some really cool stuff for them monetarily. Okay, MB. Now, M Death Fan doesn't need me to stand up for him. But MB, you get one more of those and then you're out.
Yeah.
We're not doing that.
No.
Disagree with him stridently, that's fine. But you get one more of those and you're out.
I love you, Pony.
No, but see, Tasco, this whole Tuco Quay tit for tat. Trump doesn't need to admit anything because he is the one in power and he is the one with influence. It's the leftists who want the power and influence that Trump has, who need to approach the situation in a reasoned manner so they can get people to vote for them.
Yep.
And if they constantly ignore the things that he has done well, it's going to give them a distorted picture of their enemy, and so they're not going to be able to campaign as well.
Oh, yeah.
Campaigning on Trump is a monster and Orange Man bad is not going to work.
They tried basically that the last time where they were just saying, this is ridiculous, bah, ha, 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 leave my shirt if Trump gets in. And all the polls were like, all those little pre-things that they did, all were showing that Trump was not in a good place. And then all of a sudden, lo and behold, here's Trump winning. Nobody expected it because people were saying, no, I'm not voting for Trump. But then they got in there and boop, people were writing it. They said it like, what was that poll thing that was talking about a lot of people's spouses didn't even know that they were going to vote for Trump.
Oh, yeah. Oh, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you got this, nice... I mean, Trump raised $15 million in one day in California. 15 million in one day in California. He lapped all of the Democrats combined in one day. So he's got the leverage.
Yep.
The left doesn't have any leverage as far as the general goes, and they would be smart. When you don't have leverage, then you have to win on strategy. And tell me, Tosca, what is the leftist strategy to beat Trump? Impeach him and say orange man bad, and then call him a racist like Klobuchar said, and then call everybody who voted for him a racist. Klobuchar said, no, it wasn't Klobuchar, it was the other one. Who's the other one that dropped? I don't know. A weird, pretentious lady where she was talking about she was going to go to all the white women and knock on their doors and explain to them white privilege and yada, 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 yada. That's the Democrat strategy. And what I'm saying is, it's not going to work.
Nope. No, it's not. Trump's already had so much follow through on the stuff that he said he was going to do.
Here's Benjamin. Trump is a horrible excuse for a human being, a bully, a megalomaniacal con man. Let's say all that's true. How is that relevant to whether or not impeaching him is a good idea? Yes, I do think that the Electoral College is a fair voting system. I do not believe that California and Texas should decide who the president is. Secondly, even if we were going to go by the popular vote, I still believe Trump would have won because they would have changed their strategy. See, he got Kellyanne Conway, and she's a brilliant strategist. And Trump knows strategy. So he fired his previous manager and hired Kellyanne Conway, and she closed the deal for him. He's a very, very shrewd operator. And they knew that they needed to get electoral points, so that's how they angled their campaign, the last third of their campaign. If they needed to get popular vote points, they would have angled it a different way. Secondly, the head of I forgot who it was. The guy's a Democrat. He testified that Google manipulated between 8.9 and 10.4 million votes Hillary's way by what they were doing with their algorithm and their searches. So, I'm sorry, but, that's why the popular vote is not always the best thing.
It was really pretty bad. If they had all that influence and they still failed.
The left has no one that can run against Trump logically in 2020. Raymond, I really believe that Tulsi would be able to beat him. And
why?
Because she's a veteran.
Yeah.
She's still in the military.
Oh, wow. Okay.
She's no nonsense. She's got Medicare for all, and she's talking about pulling us out of the wars in Afghanistan, Iraq, and Niger, and all the other places that.
Is she the one that always puts up those videos of her working out?
Yeah. That's Tulsi.
Okay.
No, and AirPro, you weren't listening to me. I'll say it again. Number one, it's been obviously revealed that Google aided in the guy said between 6.4 and 10.4 million extra votes for Hillary, number one. Number two, what I said was, if it was about the popular vote, Trump would have simply changed his strategy. Kellyanne would have had a different strategy, and they would have beat Hillary. Stop it. This is the stuff that to me is what kills me about the left.
Yep.
I mean, this should have been a landslide, right? I mean, by all intents and purposes, Hillary Clinton was the most experienced candidate ever to not win, in my opinion.
Somebody said she's trying to take away people's guns? Is that true?
Well, Beto said he's going to take away your collection, your AK-47 and your M4 or whatever. But I don't know. I understand what he was trying to say, but I think he was a little bit high off of everybody telling him how awesome he handled the El Paso shooting. So that's what it looks like to me. But yeah, Beto definitely said that. Sean goes, F beta. Instead of Beto, we call him
Uh-huh.
Beta. Yeah,
Smart,
it, it,
clever.
it was a political gamble, and I think that it's going to backfire on him because it's obvious to me that, I mean, even liberals in Texas are like, hold up. What the hell are you talking
Yeah.
about? No guns. Get
Yeah.
out of here.
Medicare for all and no guns is a hard pill for a lot of people to swallow.
I don't think Medicare for all is a hard pill to swallow.
It is because people don't want to put their money toward it.
No, the people that you're around say that, but most of America likes the concept of Medicare for all.
How do you know?
Because I read polls.
What did the polls say about Hillary versus Trump?
That's different though.
Why?
Because they had a hell of a lot of assumptions along with that. But I hear what you're saying. Although people were embarrassed to admit that they liked Trump. Remember when Trump first talked about running?
It's true.
Everybody's like, oh, this is ridiculous, blah, blah, blah. People were embarrassed to admit it, so they wouldn't even admit it during a phone call. But Medicare for all is an entirely different beast.
I see what you're saying. I'll tell you what. I haven't stitched like this for so many years. And my fingers feel older now. And my eyesight's not as good.
Well, I hear you. We're going to destroy your private health insurance and take your guns and kill your child in the womb. Vote for Dems. Leah, I gotta say, I think you're right. I think that the package, the extreme abortion stuff, I was about to say, okay, I'm out.
Mm-hmm.
After the New York thing passed, and then I said, well, we can get it done on the state level. Here we go. Here's watsonbrown.edu. U.S. budgetary cost of wars through 2016, $4.79 trillion.
Whew. I don't even know what that number.
The cost of war in the United States since 9/11 as of 2016 is something trillion dollars. Don't ask me where the Medicare for all money would come from. We don't need 4.7 trillion for Medicare for all. You know what would be awesome? If we stopped bombing the hell out of pine nut farmers and sending them into eternity while they're trying to eke out a meager living. If we stop bombing those people, and how about we pull home so that our troops are not suffering with CTE and PTSD, among other traumas.
Yep. And
then we can take that 4.79 trillion and put it back into the economy for Medicare for all. Mm-hmm. Simultaneous to that, we can go after Big Pharma with their unmitigated capitalism and put some price sanctions on there so that they can't price gouge us to death. We can solve the problem pretty quickly. What is an extreme abortion exactly? Does he mean extreme late term? Well, I mean, obviously, Kellen, when you got Miss Kathy Tran talking about killing a child when her mother's water breaks, or you have the RHA folks saying that there should be no gestational limits whatsoever and a woman should be able to abort for any and every reason. That's pretty extreme. Now, I agree with you from our perspective. It's killing, period. Mm-hmm. But initially the rhetoric was abortion should be safe, legal, and rare. But now these leftists are out there celebrating and dancing at the prospect of killing a 9-month-old child. That's a turnoff to most people. Most people are not like that. I don't care what you call yourself. And there's a lot of people who are against that won't publicly say it, because the minute you publicly say it, the leftists will jump on you. That's the other thing about leftists and their hatred of freedom of speech. When you cannot speak things out publicly, then people will hold it in quietly, and then you cannot convert them. That's a lie, MB. You should. I'm not gonna. I'm not gonna turn this into abortion discussion. You should educate yourself. We are absolutely killing full-term babies in America.
James Marshall, what do you guys think about the vaping situation? My opinion is that the tobacco lobbyists have their thumb on the scale in that one. You think so?
I completely
Yeah,
agree.
I was thinking that too.
I completely agree because you know they're getting hurt by the vaping phenomenon. That's for sure. Freedom over one's body, Vin. I'm not gonna have the debate with you, man. All I'll say is that the mom's body is not the one that's being dismembered and collected in a petri dish. Say it that way.
Happy birthday, Sarah. What?
All right. Good solid argument, MB. I listen. I've done multiple moderated debates on abortion. You can check out the debate I did. It's on the Middle America channel. You can watch it yourself. You should talk about the video where Billy Armstrong from Green Day yelled at the crowd, "Kill Donald Trump." Yeah, yeah, he did. I did not report on that because one, I don't want to spread that in the ether. But two, this is again the hypocrisy of the left. These are people calling for the death of individuals. Reza Aslan did it with Kellyanne Conway. And now here's Billy, whatever his name is, from Green Day doing the same thing. And again, it's just the tone deafness of these people. It does not matter who the president is. If your president gets assassinated, that is a horrible, horrible eventuality. You can disagree with John F. Kennedy. You can disagree with all types of people. But it is always a national tragedy when the president gets assassinated. And again, stuff like that. That's what makes me feel like, okay, we're in an echo chamber. We can't listen. We don't know how what we're saying is going to affect the whole. We don't get it. Average Americans are not cool with the idea of killing their president. Mm-hmm. It's just human nature. It's not even a thing. Mm-hmm. It's just human nature.
Yeah. Are you serious? Ultimate Musings, the state of Massachusetts today banned the sale of all vaping products for the next 4 months.
That doesn't surprise me.
Vaping's
banned in New York City.
Do not understand when the government gets involved in something that. I think that you should be allowed to not wear your seatbelt, not wear a helmet on your motorcycle, vape if you want to, smoke if you want to. Like, if it's your personal thing and it's going to affect... Now, I don't think that they should let heroin in because that's like, okay, well...
why not? You should be able to do whatever you want with your body.
No, because that is going to affect people, like...
Well, that's what's happening is, like, 6 people have died.
From vaping?
Yeah, recently. So the CDC issued a warning about 2 weeks...
Because they don't know what's going on with it.
Right, the CDC issued a warning 2 weeks ago.
So they don't know what's... So it's going faster than you're saying cigarettes and the effects of cigarettes?
Well, yeah, I mean, people are dying.
And they don't know why? Is it the popcorn lung?
Well, they don't know. That's the point. The CD's saying...
So that's why they're saying, okay, stop. Stop vaping.
Right. So, but I agree. I think...
Wow, I'm going to have to reach out to all the people that I know that vape and tell them to stop.
I think, you know, the big tobacco companies, you know, for sure, you know, they've definitely got their hand in it for sure. The DNC is giving me...
Team Sori.
Thanks, Tasco. The DNC is giving me nothing to vote for. Trump, tax cuts, record low unemployment across the board, trade deals to benefit American workers. Yeah, voting Trump in 20. And the other thing is, if the Chinese...
that's what I'm wondering.
If the Chinese finally blink, that's it. I'll tell you this. If the Chinese blink, not only Trump 2020, but a Republican in 2024. 100%. If Trump pulls that off, it's over. It's over. So, here we are.
Yeah, I just.
Ninth Hydra. Yeah, I hear you. I don't have a problem with prices going up due to Medicare for all for taxes or with food. That doesn't bother me at all. But again, if we're talking about financials, and I don't think I heard anybody respond, as of 2016, we spent $4.7 trillion on Iraq and Afghanistan, among the other wars since 9/11. Okay? So in 15 years, we spent almost $5 trillion. That's where our Medicare for all, as well as our college debt forgiveness, is gonna take place.
Yeah, Tosco, our website is down right now. We've got some people working on it. It's been, excuse me, sorry guys. It's been like a huge problem for a long time. So if anybody is, savvy on that stuff and wants to help out, like not just savvy, but like you're damn good at it and you can
What are we
help us,
talking about?
the website, let us know because we've got a couple people working on it, but it's a big job for them. So if there's other people that are like, oh, I want to help out, let us know. Email us, vinandsori@gmail.com and put website help in the subject. That's absurd. In what world should we not make a law to wear helmets and seatbelts? What's your reasoning for that logic? My reasoning for that logic is adults are adults. We're not children. And I don't like the government stepping in and telling me what to do. If I'm driving in my car and I don't want to wear my seatbelt, I feel like that's my decision. That's not the government's decision. I think the government stepping in and saying you shouldn't text and drive, I understand that because you're texting and driving, you can cross over the lanes and crash into somebody else and kill them. So I feel like that makes sense. But if I don't want to wear my seatbelt, I shouldn't have to wear my seatbelts. And anyway, there's plenty of times where people crash over water and their seatbelt traps them in their car. So I feel like that's a decision I should be able to make for my own body. I think that, saying that kids under a certain age have to be seatbelted, that to me, I'm more okay with. But I'm an adult and I can make that decision for myself. So let me. And if I don't want to wear a helmet when I ride my motorcycle, that's on me too. It's fun.
Yeah,
Riding a motorcycle without a helmet is
you
fun.
You don't want people to use heroin. You want heroin to be illegal. It's
no,
the
but
same
that's
logic.
because heroin affects more than just the one person, and people will take heroin and then they put prostitutes on it to get them to suck into the prostitution. And like, I'm good with heroin being out of there. Because heroin is affecting more than just one person. And you're selling it and it's affecting other people.
Well, those vape families, they're affected.
Yes, but I mean, I'm not sure if the vaping thing is actually,
Yeah, I'm with Dirk on this one. I mean...
No, Bob, I didn't work in the ER, but I worked in the rehab unit for, so I saw after as the people were recovering. But they... a lot of them were like glad that, the ones that made it on their motorcycle accidents were very glad that they were wearing their helmet. But I still don't think the government should tell you have to. It's like, why? I just don't think that makes sense. I just don't think they should, that's my decision. Yes, Ranter, I know that not wearing a helmet is dangerous and that will affect a family. But at the end of the day, you're an adult.
Yeah.
People can drink and that can affect them to drink and drive, but I still don't think the government should be able to say, yep, nobody can have any alcohol. Contradicting yourself. Sorry, please address my messages. Dirk, I did. That's why I just went on that whole tangent. What? Did you say something else?
And again, to all the how do you pay for people, why is nobody asking how did we pay for these wars? We've been in a constant state of jihad since 2001. Well, actually before that, but that's a different story. We've been in a constant state of jihad since 2001. What have we accomplished? We already killed bin Laden in 2012. There were no WMDs in Iraq. We deposed a leader who was a stabilizing force in the region. We then let ISIS and the rest of them proliferate because they filled the power vacuum. We took part in the Arab Spring. We had agency assets along with DevRu and Combat Applications Ru. All that stuff is open source. All that shit is very, very expensive. Nobody is asking, well, how are we going to pay for all these wars? And I just need to know, why is it that right-wingers don't ask that question when it comes to war? So when it comes to taking lives, we're willing to spend literally trillions of dollars of killing people that we know nothing about. We don't know their names. We don't know their loves. We don't know their favorite food, favorite color. We just blow these people to smithereens due to our warmongering. And so to spend trillions of dollars to take care of our own people, now it's like, well, where are you going to get the money? But when it comes time to bomb the shit out of people that don't know us and have done us no wrong, we're completely fine with writing that check. I don't understand it.
No, Dirk. First of all, I prefer to wear a seatbelt. In my opinion, you're safer with a seatbelt, but I still think you should be able to make that decision for yourself. You're an adult. Make that decision on yourself. And yes, I get it that if I got in a car accident, but the same could be true if I was forced to wear my seatbelt and I got trapped in my car and the car blew up, or I got stuck underneath water and it wouldn't let go. So the same could be true there. So should we say, now we can't let you, if you drive to work on you go over a bridge, you can't wear I just think that we're an adult and we should be able to, make our own decisions. Now, my decision is I prefer to wear a seatbelt. He never wears his seatbelt. That's what he prefers. Now, I would like it if he wore a seatbelt because I think that people are safer with a seatbelt. But he's an adult. He should be able to make that decision. I shouldn't be able to dictate that. And I like what Michael said. I was thinking the same thing. Should people not be able to rock climb? Because that also has led to deaths.
Well, I think the government has a very tricky job as far as personal liberty and the public good. I don't think that you could successfully make the argument from bodily autonomy and the government should stay out of your bodily autonomy and then say that the government can dictate whether or not you ingest heroin. I just don't see how, once you open that Pandora, and like I've said a million times, what you're saying is it should still be illegal because the ramifications have a deleterious effect on society.
Yes.
Well, more people die in car accidents than in heroin overdoses every year. It's not even close. So that's why they make those laws.
People are probably getting trapped in their cars.
But you get my point.
I do.
70%, this is according to The Hill, 70% of Americans support Medicare for All proposal. So it's 70% of the country.
How does the collective American public
Say what?
feel?
70% of the American public believes in Medicare for All.
Whoa. Yeah, Sarah, you know what? I got one of those, and look, it's in this desk somewhere. I never made it to my car. I need to get it in there. Yeah, James, I remember, we were hanging out with a group of people, and then all of a sudden, this vape thing became... Nobody was vaping for, barely nobody was vaping for tobacco or for... or having weed inhalation. Nobody was doing any of that. What do they call it? CBD?
Yeah.
Nobody was doing either one of those. It was just, they were just vaping for the heck of vaping. And I thought to myself, that's not good. I don't think that that's good. You don't even know what that's going to do. And I voiced it a couple times because I can be kind of more on the natural side of things. So I'm like, I don't know about all that. Sucking that into your lungs for no good reason. And they're like, but this one's like Swedish fish. I'm like, you want Swedish fish? Friggin' go down to the CVS and get yourself some. Why are you going to vape it? But
somebody asked you, why do evangelicals support Israel so much?
They support Israel because in the Old Testament, the Jews were God's chosen people. And in the end, a lot of Christians believe that in the end that the Jews are going to create a new temple and that they're gonna bring back that old sacrificial system. And then when that happens, that Jesus is gonna come back and sweep them all up into heaven, and then everything's gonna get really bad for everybody else. And they're not thinking about the implications of that. If the Jews went back to that system, that means they're completely rejecting Jesus. That's not a good thing for the Jews. And neither is if the Christians were to get taken out of here and then everybody just is stuck here in hell. It wouldn't be good either. But they just get focused on that's their thoughts on it. So they want Israel to be doing good, one, because God chose them, and two, because of that. To my understanding, that's why they're in big support of Israel. But
yeah, Ranter Matt's got it. Once Jerusalem was whole, then the rapture would begin. Yeah, that's not our perspective.
Right.
We were raised in that milieu, but that's not our perspective, but that's why. Leah, I don't know if that poll includes the we're going to take away everybody's private insurance. I don't see what the win is by taking away the private insurance option. Again, this is stuff that does not resonate with Americans. See, this is the stuff. It's like, yeah, we want Medicare for all, but eliminating completely private insurance is something that Americans are not behind. And Trump is going to beat the hell out of that drum during the general. So, the New Testament doesn't say anything different about the subject. Well, the New Testament does make a distinction between who the seed of Abraham are. The New Testament specifically quotes Genesis 15 and then applies that to Christians. Paul says that Moses did not say seeds plural, but seeds singular. So that means that there's one specific seed. And then later he says, if you belong to Christ, you're Abraham's seed and heirs according to the promise. So Paul also said in Romans chapter 9, it is not all Israel who are Israel. So anybody outside of Christ does not count as Israel in God's mind in the first place.
So somebody overshadow Sean. Job, the book of Job, it does, there's some parts of it that bother me, and then there's some parts of it that I'm like, whoa, okay. Like, obviously, Job losing everything really bothers me. Not his stuff, but when he lost his family, his kids and stuff, that really, really bothered me. I will say that, is it in James where it talks about that, that God was merciful and kind to him? It was at James.
Yeah.
And then I always was like, why does James say that God was merciful and kind to Job? And he took his family, he took everything. He was just left with his wife, and his wife wasn't even, she basically was like, just curse God and die, man. But then it says at the end that after, like, God restored everything to Job, it says that Job said that before he had heard about God with the hearing of his ears, but now he said, now my eyes see him. So if you just heard about somebody, you could just hear their voice, you wouldn't get a full picture of who they were. But if you could hear them and see them, you understand more who they were. And so he was saying that everything he went through, all of the pain that he went through and all of the loss that he went through, he was now able to be that much closer to God. And for a Christian, like, being close to God is like, that's the epitome of everything, because that's where all good comes from God. And so even in bad situations, you can still feel a sense of peace because like, God is in that situation. So Job understood more about God after all of that. So for Job, the one that went through it all, he was saying it was worth it. At the end of the day, it was worth it. So I've never been through what Job has been through, but just looking at his response, I'm like, okay, that's what he said. And he was honest throughout the book. I mean, there was parts where he said some pretty serious stuff to God, so.
Then what do you think when you hear Trump is the Antichrist? I just think it's, first of all,
I gotta get some water, but you gotta answer this one for Tosco. That's crazy.
First of all,
after
Tosco, that's heresy, by the way.
Yeah.
That what that guy said to you. It's completely heretical. I when people say Trump is the Antichrist, I just go, okay, they just must not know the Bible very well. I don't really think a lot about it. To say that Trump is the Antichrist is ridiculous from a biblical perspective. So that's my understanding of it. Also true. If Trump really is the Antichrist, then where's his black metal band? Very good point. I don't think that. I think the Democrats have enough head count to make an impeachment real to some degree, I guess. But I'll tell you what, if Trump releases that conversation tomorrow, it's going to be brutal. It's going to be absolutely brutal. How can he be the Antichrist when I am? That's a good point. Yeah, MB, I could see that. I could see that you love it. Listening to Trump speak is like listening to Leviathan. Well, the testing of Job was designed. One of my favorite pastors said that God is always doing 10,000 things at once. So one of the reasons Job was tested was so that we could have this conversation. But the other reason was that all you have to do in reconciling the Job question, which Job is a disturbing book, but what you have to do is, what is our ultimate good? And I think all of us, logically speaking, are willing to trade in penultimate goods for ultimate goods. And so from that perspective, Job makes sense in the sense as the penultimate good was taken from him, which would be his family and all the rest of it. But the ultimate good was given to him, namely a deeper revelation of God and a deepening relationship with God. So if you define what ultimate good is as being God, then the book of Job makes a lot more sense.
Jason, Canadian here, and boy, are your politics way more interesting. Yeah, Patrick, it's a sad situation.
Eddie, I try to avoid that question as much as I can. All I do is stay with the Bible.
You would do well to do so as well, sir.
Trump is releasing the conversation in fully unredacted form, meaning the Dems were played and pulled the trigger too early. If he releases that tomorrow like he says he's going to, it's going to be bad, y'all. I'm telling you. I said the exact same thing during the Mueller report. Remember that?
Oh, yeah. Yep. And lo and behold.
I said the exact same thing. And what happened to his approval ratings after the Mueller debacle? Boom. It's the same thing here.
Dirk, it wasn't about loyalty. It was about knowing God. And he would know God more after all that suffering. And if you read it, Job didn't go through the whole thing perfectly. For some reason, there's this picture that Job had all this suffering and that he handled it perfectly, and that's simply not true.
No, you would say you shouldn't run wars for anyone.
Babe, where are these fruit flies coming from?
Eddie the Head, what I will say about Piper is that you should listen to him. He's, to me, the best preacher of our entire generation. He shaped so much of who I am. So keep going with Piper. I'm a big fan.
What is Matthew 6:26?
Mm-hmm.
Is that a demon, Lilith?
If you're worried about climate change, explain Matthew 6:26. I'm assuming that's about the birds of the air and nobody feeds.
Yes, overshadow Sean. He did.
What?
Talk to God. Job talked to God. Isn't Lilith a demon?
Mm-hmm. Well, yes and no. It depends on what side of the aisle you're looking at. But you, as a Christian, would call her a demon for sure. A lot of women look at Lilith as kind of a folk hero.
Adam only had one wife.
That we know of.
That we know of.
I got in an argument a few days ago with a Muslim who tried to tell me that Peter was the son of God. Yikes.
Oh.
Well, I think, and Deathman, I think Revelation 12 is a more pertinent passage if you're talking about climate change. Revelation 12 talks about destroying the destroyers of the earth. This is talking about do not worry about your finances and how you're going to eat and how you're going to sleep. But that's not talking about our duty to follow the second commandment, which was to keep and to guard the garden. So I see what you're saying about Matthew 6, but it's curious that you would go there instead of Revelation 12, because Revelation 12 deals directly with those who destroy the earth. And the answer for how God is going to treat those people is that he's going to destroy them. So I would say that Revelation 12 is a much more relevant passage to deal with climate change. Sorry, it's Revelation 11:18. It says, the nations raged, but your wrath came, and the time for the dead to be judged, and for rewarding your servants, the prophets and saints, and those who fear your name, both small and great, and for destroying the destroyers of the earth. Mm-hmm. Revelation 11:18.
Hey, did you get that one?
Where? What? Which one are you talking about?
There, it's highlighted, babe. That's for you.
Oh, I see. Simple question. Then in Genesis 1:26-28, God said, let us make man in our image. Who is us referring to? Thought JC in the Holy Trinity was revealed in the New Testament. Actually, boss, there are multiple times in the Old Testament where the Trinity is very, very clearly alluded to. My favorite example is I asked people who spoke to Moses from the burning bush. And everybody says, well, it was God, obviously. But the text actually initially states that it was the angel of the Lord who spoke to Moses from the burning bush. But then this angel of the Lord, this messenger, because it means messenger. This messenger was able to. He was called Yahweh. He was actually called by the divine name. So there are multiple times. Sodom and Gomorrah, it says, then Yahweh rained down fire from Yahweh out of heaven. So Yahweh rained down fire from Yahweh from heaven. So there are multiple times in the Old Testament where the Trinity is alluded to, for sure.
She was supposed to be Adam's first wife?
Who? Lilith?
This Lilith character?
Yeah, Lilith was supposed to be Adam's original wife, correct.
What do you mean original?
Huh?
What do you mean original? I feel like we had this conversation, but I don't remember.
Yeah, she was his first wife. Then she left because she didn't want to submit to him, basically. And then Eve was created.
Really? Where'd
Yeah.
she go in this story?
Yes, I did hear about his conversion to Christianity. I think it's genuine, and until he proves otherwise, I'm gonna believe it. It was Alan Rickman who spoke to Moses in the bush.
Jason McNeil. I think that it's so hilarious, the dramatic switch in attitudes toward marijuana. I think it's wild. And what I think is even more insane is that now we're walking through the mall and they're selling it in the middle of the mall. And there were people in jail. While that was still in the middle of the mall, there were people in jail because they had smoked weed. I was like, this is insane. This is insane. These people are still in jail and they've been in jail this whole time for weed. I used to think that weed was like we've talked about it before, like it'll end your life, it'll ruin you. And now I'm like, I'm not a weed smoker, but I've seen people smoking weed and I'm like, this is not what I was told.
Aren't y'all Gnostic? No. We're not Gnostics at all.
Don't they believe the body doesn't matter? Gnostics?
Yeah,
It's all
Kellen.
about knowledge or what?
Kellen, Lilith is an intertestamental legend story. You're not gonna. It's not like it was in Genesis and then disappeared. It's an intertestamental idea.
She became a spirit of the earth?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Lilith fled the garden needing to claim her independence. Yep.
Why wouldn't you just have taken the fruit and the tree and lived forever?
They were dumb. I'm
Phony.
looking at my rosary right over there. I'm not wearing it right now, though. All right, guys, we got 5 minutes left. 5
Jay,
minutes.
Yeah, it was the law at the time, but if it's a stupid law,
Well,
and the reason why the law came into being in the first place needs to be brought into question.
right. I agree.
You should have heard this conversation that Vin had today on the phone. So we're about ready to shoot the video for Carmen. And then he gets this random phone call and he answers, and I can hear this guy on the other line, and he was saying that it was the police department. And I was like, oh, what happened? Like, we live in a busy neighborhood, or what's going on? And he's like, they were trying to raise money for like keeping cops safe, which we're all about keeping cops safe. But at the same time, we're also about keeping the unarmed black men that are walking around getting shot safe as well. And so Vin's like, so what did you say? What are we doing to make sure that cops are not shooting?
Well, he was talking about training for officer safety, and I said that's great. Is basically, I asked, are you gonna train them in de-escalation so they're not killing unarmed black people in the street?
He's like, what? What did you say? Or something like that?
I repeated it. He goes, have a great day.
Boom, hung up on him. I'm like, what? Are you serious?
I wasn't surprised.
He was completely fine with it. I was so angry. I was like, I wish I would have had that conversation recorded.
I'm not
He was
mad
like,
at the
what?
big homie.
What,
I'm
babe?
not
I'm
mad.
like, no, we didn't get to watch Pink Floyd The Wall. Nothing worked. Oh, you did, Larry? Are you going to send it to us? That's so cute.
What?
He wrote another poem for Orion.
Oh.
Remember he sent us the one at the baby shower?
It's going to be really... Look, here's CNN. Trump sets out to undercut Pelosi's impeachment gamble.
You know what? I have a drawer right there, and it has all the letters that you guys have given to us. Even the ones that you sent, like, if you sent, like, an Amazon package, and it had, like, a typed note from Amazon, but from you. I kept all those, too. They're right in that drawer. Sometimes I pull them out. I read a couple of them. I'm like, our village. Did you say we were getting off?
In 5 minutes.
Oh, okay.
Pelosi, after months of trying to slow walk impeachment demands from her liberal base, elected to strike, despite the president agreeing to release a transcript on Wednesday of a call with the Ukraine's president. Trump says the document will clear him of wrongdoing, despite his public admission that he pressured Ukraine to open an investigation into Biden and his son, a fact that itself that his opponents argue is a gross abuse of power. There is no evidence of wrongdoing by either Joe or Hunter Biden. Hey, CNN, why weren't you saying that during the Mueller report? Why weren't you pointing out there was no evidence to get Trump? Oh my gosh, the bias with these people, the bias that these people have is insane.
Yep.
This was a terrible move by Pelosi. Everybody knows it. We'll see. What's up, Winston Smith?
No, Rel, there's no lighter on the desk. Somebody must have taken it. Otherwise, I would have been playing with it.
We are in the middle of a themed week, so I'm not sure that we can do that for the big homie on Friday. But I'll talk to Sori. We'll try to figure it out.
Yes, Ben. I know. I was literally just thinking, I'm like, oh, if I go now, I'm going to have enough time to take a shower before Ben gets done this. Because I know there's about 30 minutes left, so...
Well, Ranter Matt, tell me, I need to know though, brother, are you happy with this impeachment thing? Do you think it's going to go good for Democrats? She was facing enormous pressure. I know. I was talking about it earlier. Kellen is AOC. He's got all this power. Obviously doesn't know how to use it yet. What's up, John?
Bitches.
I guarantee you that Pelosi doesn't really want to do this. And there goes my guitar.
Again. You should put it in the walking path.
It's my fault. Blame the victim. Yeah, I don't think Pelosi wants to do this, but she's stuck. What can she do? I don't know, man. I feel like this is gonna majorly backfire on the Dems. Trump was trying to throw the election. The Clintons planted him there to guarantee Hillary 2016 and misread America pretty badly. I really thoroughly believe that he really didn't. I don't believe that Trump really thought he was going to win. I don't believe that. I don't think he thought he was going to win. But what ended up happening is that he won. And I think he's like, all right, well, now that I'm here, I might as well do something to make my mark. That's what I think happened. It is pretty odd. Investigation or aid. Well, yeah, if Trump said, if you don't prosecute Biden, I'm going to, restrict your aid. That's terrible. I just don't think that, from what I know of Trump, and I don't know the man personally, obviously, but I doubt very highly he would release the transcript if it had anything damning in it. We saw during the Miller investigation how he went out of his way to try to tell his inner circle to keep their mouths shut. So I don't really see Trump releasing, especially he's got a built-in excuse to not release a transcript. He can say, we were talking about, national security issues about Ukraine and the U.S. And so these are discussions that cannot be made privy to the public because I'm not going to release a portfolio every time I talk to a world leader. The fact that he didn't use that excuse and that he's going to drop this information tomorrow makes me feel like the whole thing was set up. That's how I feel. Yeah, Kellen, I think you're completely wrong. You're completely wrong. I feel like Trump isn't super bright. He may not think something is damning. No, you're completely wrong. Trump is a brilliant, brilliant, brilliant actor. And keep it up. Keep it up. He knew enough to fire his campaign manager and hire Kellyanne Conway. The man is a master strategist. I am not going to reveal what song we're releasing tomorrow. It's going to have to be a mystery. Peace and love, Bob. Yeah, I think underestimating, and I don't really understand why leftists want to underestimate Trump. Like, I don't know what the win. What is the win in calling him an idiot and thinking he's not smart? Like, what's the win there? Oh, I agree, Kellen. I agree. The problem is, as Trump has obviously demonstrated, is that you do not need to be book smart to be the president. You just have to know how to influence people. And his intelligence, as far as influencing people, is off the charts. That's obvious. And his ability to read people and anticipate movements, both with his constituency, the people he wants in his constituency, and his rivals, his understanding of how they will react in given situations is the best I've ever seen. I mean, I'm fairly young, but the guy knows what he's doing. Later, Scott. Yeah, he's a perceptional savant. Spent enough years on TV and newspaper in the 80s. He likes controlling the narrative 100%, and he knows it. And Ranter, if it comes out tomorrow that there's nothing on those tapes and she went to impeach, I mean, it's the craziest chess move of all time, man. And after the Mueller report, I think Americans are going to be like, "Yo, you got to get us a smoking gun, man. If you don't get us a smoking gun, they're not going to be forgiving." I agree, Colin. What I'm saying though is I'm pretty sure he'll know what's in that transcript and what isn't, and how people are going to react to it and how they won't. Yeah, I don't understand the impetus of calling Trump stupid. I don't get it. Pressing a foreign leader to investigate a political rival 8 times there's a gun. Is that a waft of smoke? Matt, you cannot believe that anything is going to come of this Ukraine thing. If you were to look through history, Russell Wilson was the worst president we ever had. What do you think the Dems really have to lose? 3 years of doing this. What is another week? Well, what they have to lose is the election. All of us had Russia fatigue, and now they're trying to resurrect it again. I think they've got a lot to lose by going after Trump in this capacity. No, I would never vote for Trump, ever. We got to get Medicare for All passed, and he's not even talking about an alternative to Medicare for All. See, that's what's bugging me, is that he's not even talking about an alternative. So to me, with Trump, everything's just going to stay the same. So that's a problem for me. No, it's not going to get Trump impeached, but what it's going to do is it's going to piss off a lot of Americans. It's going to mobilize his base, and it's going to make people that are on the fence go, This, to me, the impeachment pressure, to me, is just a complete indictment of the Democratic Party. To me, it just shows a lack of leadership at the top. Pelosi, in my opinion, she was doing the right thing. She was pushing against impeachment because she understood the political ramifications, but she eventually caved in to the AOC pressure. And I think that this is a historically bad move for the Democrats. I really do. Yeah, Cherry. Yeah, I hear what you're saying. I hear what you're saying, but he, it's not a selling point for him right now. So maybe it'll come up in the general. Maybe he's holding all that close to the chest, and he's gonna wait till the general to roll it out. Maybe, but we'll see. I doubt it. I doubt it very highly, but we'll see. Yes, God determines the outcome of all wars. I believe that. Okay, Ninth Hydra. Next time, for sure. Do I think Medicare for All will have a negative impact on the care that we receive? Um, I don't know. I don't know enough about the that discussion to really answer the question intelligently. What I do know is that all those folks dying of diabetes would still be here if we had Medicare for All. And I think the Republicans need to contend with that. I'm not the only one who is extremely upset about the death of our countrymen for useless reasons and needless reasons other than dying under the unforgiving boot of capitalism. So, sometimes when we have a conflict in the house and it seems irreconcilable, I'll call a family meeting and I'll say, I don't know how we're going to do this, but we're going to figure it out. And so that's kind of where I'm at with the healthcare question. If you have a force of underdeveloped but God-fearing people met with against a godly but highly advanced force, they will lose. Well, I mean, yes and no. I think that we were way more advanced in the Viet Cong, and we lost that war. So being advanced doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to win the war. But, the scripture says, the secret things belong to the Lord, but the things revealed belong to us and our children, that we might obey all the words of this law. So, why God favors one military over the other is a mystery that he has not explained to us. So I don't speculate on why he would allow that or why he would write that into the story, however you want to frame it. I'm not sure. Whoa. Native Americans had different levels of advancement prior to our colonialists pushing them west. The Cherokee Confederacy actually had a newspaper. That's crazy. Yeah, I mean, I'll check it out for sure. I might shoot a video on it. I don't know. I mean, again, I don't really know. Everybody's been asking us there's been one guy that's been asking us for a solid 7 months for George Carlin. I just don't know where to put it. I'm gonna put that in Middle America. It's not really political. I'm not sure. I don't know what to do. Mike Pence is the only reason Trump hasn't been assassinated. Whoa. All right, guys. I got 1 minute left. So my take on this is that I get the very sneaking suspicion. What are you laughing at?
Oh, because I'm so right.
What happened?
Me and Ben knew you'd still be talking. So I said I probably have time to go shower before Ben even gets off. And look at that.
You're a terrible human being. I love the support.
No, I'm just a realist.
Anyway, now that my wife has decided to join league with my arch enemy.
Ben, of course I was right.
Awesome, ranter.
Oh, absolutely, Ben, I do. I think that God decides the outcome of everything, actually.
Eddie the Head. Thank you, sir. Me and Overshower Sean, we got your back for sure. All right, so Ranter Matt, everybody sub to his channel. Let me put Ranter Matt's channel on here. Ranter Matt. There he is. Boom.
Who did the artwork for your cartoon face?
I have no idea.
I like it.
There it is. That's Ranter Matt's channel. Check him out.
Also, pray for Pony. She could use your prayers as well.
When I'm on fire, how do I know how to call? Sorry for this question. Yeah, ninth, what you do is you find us on Skype, Vin and Sori. So
we don't know, Rob.
That's how you can get us.
You have to ask Ben where Lilo went.
Yeah, Ben knows where Lilo went.
Yeah. Is she in the next room, Ben?
If God decides the outcome of everything, it would absolutely suck to gamble with him. Well, you know, the scripture says the lot is cast into the lap and the Lord determines the outcome. The lot is a dice game.
We're going to try doing the Twitch thing. We're having a little trouble with it.
All right. I'm going to take my shower now, guys. At, what is it, 1:30?
Yes, I'll see you tomorrow, honey. It's 2 o'clock in the morning.
2 o'clock. All right. Love you guys. Have a good one. Love your neighbor.
Take care of each other.
Middle America.
We are the media.
Till next time, guys.
Yeah, well, you can go take a shower. I'm going to hang out a little longer.
Oh, well, she let me do all that so I could look like a dumb butt.
No. It was
First
just
she
that...
sides with Ben, and now I'm a dumb butt.
All right, guys. It's, no, Dana, we're not going to buckle up. Anybody can do what they want. So, what's up? I stream some. I might can help you. Oh, okay, maybe, yeah. Part of it is lack of time, but we have the Geek Squad coming tomorrow, so maybe they'll be able to figure out anything. So we are now, what's up, Silver? Justin, we are now no longer doing a political channel. It's now the Sori time, so you really have to interest me with some interesting questions for the political stuff if you want me to answer that. Otherwise, I'm not going to. No, I don't think that Vin is a dumb butt. I like Vin. Next up on the agenda is Web Week. Well, Web Week is not going to start until Ben Webb sends his picture, because I'm going to make the intro for those videos and it's going to be your face right in there. But for some reason, you refuse to send it. Pony, sorry, tell me about Job. I mean, the story of Job is basically God calls, has a conversation with the devil, and the devil, God points out how awesome Job is on purpose, obviously, because everything God does is for a purpose. And then the devil's like, oh, well, he only serves you because you give him everything he wants, everything is available to him like that. And so God is like, okay, well, do whatever you want to him. And so the devil goes down there, but he says you can't take his life. So the devil goes down there, it's just one thing after the next. Job loses everything. He loses his flocks, his home, his family. The only thing that's left is really his wife, and he's got boils all over his skin, and he's like scraping it with a broken pot. And he goes through a number of discussions with God. Some of them he's questioning God, and then God comes back at him. Some of them God talks with him. It just depends on which conversation, because there's multiple conversations in the book of Job. And then at the end of the book of Job, which it doesn't tell us how long Job was suffering for, but at the end of his life, the book of James talks about Job and says that God was both merciful and kind to Job. And then you're like, what? I said this before. What in the world did God do to Job that was merciful and kind? And then you refer back to the book of Job. And in the end, Job says that before he heard about God through the hearing of the ear, he said, but now my eye sees him. And so Job understood that seeing God was better than just hearing. And the only way for him to be able to see God and understand God the way that he did and have that relationship was that he first went through that pain. I mean, I can't speak for Job. I never lost everything that Job lost. But I've gone through a lot of losses in my life too. And when I'm in the middle of those losses, I feel sometimes like God has just completely abandoned me. I'm like, he's not even here with me. I'm completely alone. But then when I get on the other side of those troubled times and really bad difficulties and surviving those things, then I look back and I'm like, oh no, like God was there the whole time. Like, but it was very difficult because the time was so painful. Sometimes it's hard to see him. So, no, his wife doesn't die. She tells Job, just curse God and die. I think what song is a joke? Big Bird? Some of them, Kellandros. Not all of them. You'll have to wait and see. God is like the seatbelt enforcing government, it seems. No, I don't think so, Winston, because God, like, when God decides laws, he created this whole world, and so he sets the laws for this world. So part of the reason why God set the rules is so that way, if we follow them, we can have the best possible life. So I've seen it over and over and over again. People don't want to listen to the laws of God. They don't want to listen to the things that God says that are for their good, and then they land in situations that they wouldn't normally be in had they have listened to those. Sexual promiscuity is like a big one where everybody's like, yeah, like just whatever. But like, obviously, pretty much everybody knows that if you're coming from a religious context, they say you're not supposed to have sex until you're married. Well, there's a lot of heartache that goes along with sex before you're married. So, not to mention the different diseases and stuff that you can get from that kind of lifestyle. Refer to the CDC for that. Let's see. Ooh, you're gonna have to wait and see, Silver. Oh, this pillar of salt lady. That was Lot's wife when they left the city, and she looked back. Ben, what I don't understand, if God decides everything ultimately, why do anything? Doing nothing would have the same result if God decides the outcome. Christians should just not do anything. Well, that's a discussion between God's revealed decree and his secret decree. So God's revealed decree is what he says we're supposed to do, which is revealed in the Bible. And then his secret decree is what he's actually doing behind the scenes to bring things to where their ultimate end is. So he gives us the outline. And then there's a lot of stuff we're just supposed to enjoy life and enjoy each other and enjoy some wine and stuff like that. But in the meantime, we just follow what he's saying and keep going in that direction, and it's good. You're welcome, Winston. Let's see, who else? Job is one of the reasons why I don't like the Old Testament. I think on the surface, it paints God often as very cruel, or at least uncaring. Well, it does, Calendros, when you just are reading the story, but when you see Job's interpretation of what happened to him, that tells you something different. You're going off your interpretation. You're like, yo, if that happened to me, I would feel this way. But we can't know for sure what we would feel because we didn't experience the entire thing that Job did. The conversations that he had with God, the experience, the pain, the abandonment from his friends, the judgment from his friends. And then God coming to his rescue in the end. And through that experience, he says himself that he was better off because of it. So it enhanced his life in the end. Sorry, couldn't that thing be said about the seatbelt thing? It could. It could be said, well, you know what? God's in control of the outcome, so we're supposed to buckle our seatbelts. And that is part of the way that I think through something, without giving too many details. Something happened that I was very angry about because I am like a super protective mom. And so, but at the end of the day, like, I mean, I don't know. I leave, like, kids are going to make mistakes. Things are going to happen as kids grow. And I know that you have to give them space to do those things. And part of it, I just kind of like leave it in the hands of the Lord. Like I create the safest environment that I can. And then outside of that, things happen, So if I don't want them to fall off their bike, but they're going to have to fall off their bike, that's just some random example, obviously. No, Ben, I'm not just talking about the heartache that's attached, and it's not just because of societal standards that heartache is caused. Heartache is caused because you're into the person, and some of your soul goes toward that person, and then all of a sudden that's over, and it has nothing to do with society in that situation. And diseases that people get from sex outside of marriage, from having multiple partners, isn't a societal thing. It's just a fact thing. You got this disease. Now, some of it makes them infertile. You have to go and get the checkups and all that stuff. So, yeah, I definitely want to read up a little bit on it, Lilith. That's funny to me. I was like, Matt Roberts still hasn't gotten his shirt. Matt Roberts? I'll check my list tomorrow. Did he order one, or was he getting sent one? And now you both like my story. I'm just happy to be here, and I can say with absolute authority that I had nothing to do with it. There you go. Ben, I'm talking about 2 categories, you weirdo. You have to take your kid to school? Is it in the morning, John? For what, Rachel? It's... Okay, I mean, sure, but all that stuff is pretty objectively bad. Losing all your friends, etc. There's no doubt that pain builds character and gives you context, compassion, and empathy. No, that's not what he said he got from those things, Kellandros. What he's saying he got from that is a deeper understanding of God. And for a Christian, that makes sense that is because we were ultimately created for that. And so it's like when you finally find that perfect yes. And that's what Job got. He saw God in a clear light. He understood God in a clearer way. It doesn't mean that he didn't feel the pain, because he absolutely did feel the pain. But from those experiences, the knowledge of God that he gained and that relationship with God that he gained was to him of much more value than the suffering that was caused through his pain. That's not an orb that's going around the room. We have a bunch of fruit flies in here, and for life of me, I can't figure out where the fruit is that's causing this problem. Okay, let's see. Bye, John. Let's see. Okay, why base my actions on my own selfish salvation? If I'm predestined for hell, who am I to argue? Sound like they might need my love more down there anyway. Well, it's not... Why base my actions on my own selfish salvation? Well, yeah, I mean, if you're predestined for hell, who are you to argue? Yeah, I see what you're saying, but you don't know where you're going to be going. And sounds like they might need my love more down there anyway. I mean, I don't believe that hell is a place where you can pass out love, because the Bible says God is love. And so if you're separated from all the goodness of God in hell, then there is no place for love. Everything good that's in your life, or that you could perceive to be a good thing, ultimately comes from God, because it says every good and perfect gift comes from God, comes down from the Father of lights. So if you have something good like love, that is not going to be in hell. Like God is everywhere at the same time. So God is going to be there where hell is, but you're going to be separated from his grace and his goodness. So all the good things that you have will no longer be there. Yeah, there's no mayo in here, but I don't know what it is. It's got to be something that I've missed. You think we should make the mean tweets a weekly thing? I get a huge kick out of them. There was literally only one where it hurt my feelings. that was like way at the beginning of the channel. And I don't know if I was just maybe emotional at that time. I was like pretty offended. And like I said, I called my mom. I was like, Mom, they called me this. And she was like, oh, that's terrible, blah, blah, blah. But I got past it. Sorry, the thing deleted half of what I wanted to add. Okay, well, you can send it again. Yeah, Steven, if that's your thing. Raul, I'm actually planning on going on, I'm trying to get a go on tomorrow to Patreon and see who won the Slipknot stuff. Do you guys want to see what the stuff is? I'll show it to ya. So on Patreon, we had like a guessing game to see who Vin's favorite band members were in order. And the winners were gonna win some of this stuff that we got from the concert we went to. So there's this bag. It's like one of those clear bags that you like take to the shows because you can't have anything that's not see-through. So that has like a little Slipknot symbol on it. So there's 2 of these. I'm not sure if I'm gonna like separate it out and like have like a bunch of winners, or if I'm just gonna put the 2 packs together and send it. And then there's 2 of these like Slipknot. It's like a poster, although one of them got torn from our lovely children. But still, it's still cool. So there's 2 of those, and then there's 2 of these. It's like this book that has like, I don't know, Slipknot stuff in it. I honestly, I don't know. They're really cool pictures of just like the band and stuff. So I don't know what they call one of these. Maybe somebody knows. Some kind of a band book. But some cool pictures of them in there. And then the last thing that we have 2 of is these. They're like little patches that you can like sew on your jacket or something like that. They're pretty cool. I'm not gonna lie. I was tempted to keep this one because I wanted it on my stuff. But then I was like, no, I'll give it to our villagers. So I'm gonna go on there and I'll see like how many winners we have. And it might be that only 2 people, if only 2 people got the correct order, then I might just send it to the 2 separate groups. Okay, so Sori, what do you believe hell is like? You know what? To be honest with you, I always thought that hell was just like, I thought that God was not in hell, and that it was like the only place that was like away from God, and that it was dark and you were like burning and just being tortured for all eternity. And that's basically what I was taught. But Vin's interpretation of hell seems to be pretty damn accurate. Like, he points out a lot of scriptures that I'm like, ooh, that's a good point. So there's like verses that talks about in heaven there being like fire that flows from under the throne of God. And then you hear the analogy of hell being a place of fire. And so basically he's got this idea, and I'm definitely inclined. I'm like 98% leaning onto this idea. So, but I just need more time to like kind of process through it. But his idea is that, you know, like I was talking before, how all the good stuff comes from God. And so anything that's good comes from God in a good, gracious sense. But that hell is all the people that chose to reject God all of their life. They basically get what they've been wanting all of their life. They get a place where they're separated from all the goodness of God, but they can never be separated from God because they're basically like they're under the wrath of God. And in hell, they become more and more what they always wanted to be. So basically, a good example to explain that is like The Purge. If you've seen The Purge, basically it's all hell breaks loose in hell and people can do what they want to do. And because we were created, the Bible says in Genesis 1:26, to be the image of God, to show what God is like and to express him throughout the world. And, you know, we've given the analogy before that before, like originally created in the garden, we were basically like a mirror that would reflect the glory of God. But when people began to sin, it was like the mirror got broken into a bunch of pieces. And the more sin that we do, the more evil we are toward each other, the less we're able to give a clear reflection of what God is like. So it's like we break that mirror more times. Well, when Jesus came to the earth, Jesus came and he died so that way he could like pay the punishment for our sins and basically start repairing that mirror again so we could image God better again. And so basically in hell, you don't reflect anything of God. It's just all just bad. And so you're basically stuck in this over and over eternal darkness because there's never any of the goodness and the light of God. It's just over and over and over and over of whatever sin, and you progressively become less and less and less of the image of God, so it becomes more and more horrible. But this is what the people had chosen because they didn't want anything to do with God, so now they get an eternity of nothing with God. So, and it talks about them wanting to get away from God in hell, but being unable to do that. So then that kind of fits with his theory that you're experiencing, so the fire that comes out of the throne of God in heaven is like God's presence, that the believers and the Christians experiences like the life of God and the power of God, and the Christians love it. They love being in that fire of God. But somebody that hates God wants nothing to do with it. So to them, it's torture. So, okay, 9th. See ya later. Having negative emotions seems imperfect. Well, no, there's a difference between sin and perfection. Because I used to think, too, that people weren't, I was like, it's going to be so boring. Like, nobody's going to trip in heaven. And then Vin was like, tripping is not a sin. Tripping is just clumsiness. And clumsiness is not a sin. So people are still going to trip, like, there's still going to be, like, laughter and silliness and whatever in heaven. But there's no sin. Okay, let's see. What else do we have here? There's a lot of comments. I feel so sad when you guys' comments just keep going and I don't see them. When did director make music and why haven't I heard of it? I guess there's a conversation I jump in the middle of. Sorry, I meant specifically about good feeling wrath. I don't know what you mean, Ben. Good night, 9th. Why would God need to feel wrathfulness? What do you mean, why would he need to? I mean, why would he? Are you saying, why would he feel wrath against sin? Is that the question? I hope people don't trip in heaven. I've tripped enough in this life. Silver, I trip all the time too. I'm like one of those trip up the stairs type of people. My family actually thought that there was something wrong with me when I was a kid because I used to fall so much. My meme used to say, oh, good night, pony. My mom would say, my grandmother would say, hey, she was French. Hey, you used to fall a lot. We didn't know if you were going to get back up, but you'd get up every time. You'd get right back up. Meme would watch you from the stairs. You'd go around there. She'd always talk like that. I loved it. One of these times, I know I keep talking about it, but I'm going to show you how to make meme soup. The kids love it. It's perfect in the wintertime. Actually, pretty much everybody that has tried it has liked it. And Vin's picky. He doesn't really like soups, but he likes this one. Oh, Ben, no. Wrath is not a negative thing if it's a justful wrath. When wrath is wrong, like we should have wrath against things that are bad. Like it's picture if, and I hate to bring up this example and I apologize if this triggers anybody, but if a child is being molested and somebody's angry that child got molested, that's a justifiable reason to be angry. We should be angry at that. So that's how it is with God. God is not angry because for the same reasons we are, but when there's God's reasonings for being wrathful are fully justified across the board. And really, he's the only one that really has a whole good lot of reason to be angry, because every time we sin against God. People do stuff all the time and it's not really, somebody cuts us off in traffic. I mean, they annoyed us, but I mean, Michael, what did you say? But I thought Jesus descended into hell after the crucifixion. But if Jesus is God and God is love, then love can exist in hell or no. Yeah, I've heard that Jesus descended into hell too. To be honest with you, I get a little bit confused on that one because I'm not sure if that was in the Apocrypha or if that's in the actual. I know, I'm thinking it said that just like Jonah 3 days was in the belly of the whale, so the Son of Man would be 3 days in the heart of the earth. But I don't know if that meant that he like literally went to hell or if it meant that he was going to be in that cave. I don't really know, so I can't speak on that. I'm sorry. But if you ask at the next fireside, Vin, I'm sure, has a good answer for that one. So repeat again, Michael, at the next one. Oh my word, B Cherry, why did you have such big shoes? Was that like your shoe size, or you guys just couldn't afford the correct size? Well, Jesus has the keys of death and Hades, yes. But also, Dana, it says that he like in the interim between the Old Testament and the New Testament, there was, I don't know if you've heard of Abraham's bosom, but that's where people kind of went as like a holding spot. It wasn't a bad place or like an amazing place like heaven, but it was it was a good enough place while they were waiting. And then I've heard discussion about that Jesus went there to speak to them, and so then that kind of like. Yeah, Stephen, the difference though is that God compares himself to a father, but obviously our fathers are flawed and they're sinful people, so they're not going to reflect God perfectly. I'm sure your father made plenty of bad decisions in his parenting, and I'm sure that all of his punishments weren't just solely for your good. So sometimes it's that the kid's annoying you, and that's the type of punishment that we're not supposed to give. You're not supposed to be annoyed with your kid and go after them because they annoyed you. You're supposed to be looking to their future and looking for what's best for them. And that's why the Bible says you should punish your children. If you love them, then there should be consequences for their actions, because a child that's just allowed to do whatever they want whenever they want is the type of child that is going to have no boundaries in their life, and eventually somebody's going to stop them. If it's not you, it's eventually going to be the cops, and then they could be in jail. So it's important, if you love your children, that you build that character in them. And when you see character flaws, you work on them. You don't demean them and pound them into the ground, but you work on them and to help them to be a profitable person in society and someone who can live with other people in a loving way, but at the same time be wise. The Bible says that we should be, wise, but we should also we should just, love like crazy, but we also need to be wise in the process. Wise as serpents, gentle as doves. Well, it was sort of like a waiting room, yeah, where it was kind of in between, and then it was set up after Jesus died on the cross, to my understanding. No, that's not purgatory, because purgatory is the idea that you're being purged for your sins. And as a Christian, we don't believe that the Bible teaches that. I know Catholics call themselves Christians as well, but I would say, as, whatever you want to call me, we don't see that the Bible says that, because the Bible says that Jesus, by one sacrifice, he perfected for all time those who are being made holy. So we are holy because Jesus died on the cross for our sins, but his sacrifice continues to make us holy, because I'm never going to be a perfect person on this side of eternity. So I'm going to sin more and more and more. Less and less as time progresses, but I'm still going to be a sinner when I die. So his sacrifice is always needed, but his one sacrifice took care of it for all time. In the Old Testament, they had to keep doing the sacrifices year after year after year. Multiple animals had to die to show how bad sin was, and that the consequence of sin is always death. And so, but Jesus' sacrifice, it was the perfect one, and it was so perfect that he didn't stay dead. All those animals died, and more of them had to die, But when Jesus died as the sacrifice and his blood was shed, 3 days later, he came back from the dead, proving that his sacrifice was so perfect that he was able to conquer death. So that's what that whole thing kind of shows. Let's see. The Bible says no man has seen heaven. If we go to heaven or hell when we die, what's the point of the universe? Death Fan, I don't know where in the Bible it says nobody ever saw heaven. I don't believe that was. I know that it talks about, no, like nobody has seen like the full glory of God. Like even there was like one of the prophets, and like God came by and he like saw, it says that he saw like the back of God. But it's because if God showed his full glory to us, he's so great in his glory, it would just like, it would disintegrate us. So he gives us in patches. Like people have experiences with God in the Bible, and a lot of them are left, without strength, just like on their faces, or unable to speak for extended periods of time and stuff like that, because the glory of God is so strong and so intense. So if he actually put out his full glory, we wouldn't be able to stand. It says even the angels, it says in Revelation that they have like 3 pairs of wings, and with one pair they fly, with one pair they cover their face, and the other they cover their feet. So like even the angels in all their perfection, like there's like this understanding of the glory of God. Overshadow Sean, do y'all think people are in heaven now, or that will come later, where we all get in together? Okay, this is a kind of an interesting thought, because I said the same thing to Vin. We were having to talk about that one day, and I was like, Vin, like, so like your mom has been in heaven for like X amount of years, and like this whole time she's like feeling that, and you're not with her, and like people are just, and then he was like, well, he's like, sorry, think about it. He's like, we live in a universe of time, so we experience time as it passes. But if eternity has no time, then is there a sense where they entered eternity, but it will seem as though we entered basically at the same time as them because there was no time? So I don't really know definitively, but I really thought that was an interesting thought, if that makes any sense to you. Let's see. Time is relative. Yeah, Calendros, that's basically what I was saying. Yeah, so to his mom, it would feel like, whoa, we just got here. We're stuck in time. So it doesn't feel like, whoa, hey, K2. Let's see. B Cherry, I'm a Christian, but will always have questions. Why would God create a soul that will reject him and spend eternity in hell? B Cherry, that one, honestly, that's a tough one for me too. I do know that sometimes the things in life that seem the most horrible, like if most people have a problem when harm is put on innocence. So the more innocent a character is, and the more pain inflicted on that character, the more enraged people feel. People don't really feel a whole lot if you say somebody like Hitler got shot, or you know what I mean? Like people are like, whatever, that Mueller, what happened to him in his the Mueller report, when that guy was in his in his cell, and then like he got hung. Did he hang himself? There was like all this question, but most people were like, F him, like he had that place with all those kids and stuff like that, whatever, but the more innocent a character is, the more like shocking it is. Like, so with Jesus, he was literally the most innocent character ever, because he never sinned. He was perfect in all of his ways. And then he died the death of crucifixion, but he went through a lot of abuse before he even got to the cross. And so it was like this horrible, horrible event put on the most perfect person of all eternity. So this is like one of the biggest reasons why we should be the most enraged. Well, that thing, it brought about the most glory. Like it looked so horrible, and it looked like if we were there at that time, you'd be like, God, what are you doing? This is insane. He was supposed to be the savior. He was supposed to help us. And now he's dying on a cross like a common criminal, naked up on there, that cross, and everybody's mocking him. Like, what is happening? And then 3 days later, he rises from the dead. And from that point, all of history took a complete change, because the people that were so afraid to die before, suddenly they're not afraid of death anymore, because they see that their savior has risen from the dead. And so they went through horrible deaths after that, the people that were following him. So there are events and stuff that seem so horrible, but it brings about amazing things. And that can be true of the pain in our lives. That can be true of those situations. I don't know why God does the things that he does. And there's plenty of things that I don't agree with him on. But at the end of the day, I say, He's God. Who am I to question? I mean, he's God. If it's true that there is God alone and that he created everything else around him, then who am I, a created being, to question him on his ways and be like, yo, why did you do this? I can say those questions and he welcomes me to ask those questions. But at the end of the day, I'm not God, he is. So if I don't agree with the way that he does something, I'm welcome to voice it. We're all welcome to voice it, but at the end of the day, that's Jay, Bible Boogie. When is it? What's my least favorite color? It used to be purple, but I actually like purple now. Least favorite color is probably like that yellowy type of color that kind of looks like puke. I don't like that. Sorry, do you think God grants us free will, or are we bound to what he wants us to do? Well, we've talked about this before. I think that you have freedom within your nature. So the Bible says that we were born sinners. So you don't have to teach a kid to steal from another kid. They're going to take the blocks beside them when they get strong enough to reach out and grab them. You don't have to teach your kid to hit other kids. They just hit. And you're like, yo, where'd they get that from? Like, there's so many things that kids do, and you're like, I didn't teach them that. I remember when Selah was little, this is so terrible, because obviously Vin and I have not been together all of our lives. We've only been married for like a year and a half. So Vin was friends of mine. He would come over with his kids, and then Selah would pick up some nasty habit, and I legit did not think it was her. I was like, yo, your kids taught her that. And I legit thought that. But then, like, as time progressed, I was like, wait a minute. And then, understanding that every single person's a sinner, so she's going to come up with plenty of her own ideas. It's not because of the other kids. So because we're born and our nature is sinful right off the bat, basically what the Bible teaches is that they call it like having like a bad heart, basically a heart of stone that doesn't want to follow after God's ways, kind of want to do our own thing. And then God comes along and he can take out, he says he takes out that heart of stone and he puts in a heart of flesh, and it causes us to walk in his ways. So that's essentially, prior to having that heart change, you can just work within your nature. So you have freedom in a sense to choose, but you're always going to choose to work within your nature. So if your nature is to sin, you're going to be sinner. You're going to be a sinner. That's just it. And then it's only by the grace of God that God comes in and gives you that new heart that causes you to walk in his ways. And so you actually have more freedom when you get that new heart, because you're not bound to the nature of your old heart that just really wanted to sin and didn't want to follow after God and just kind of wanted to do your own thing. Okay, let me see. What else do we have for questions? What did somebody say? Why is this going not political? I'm just getting in here, so I wasn't sure what's going on. Jay, what happened was oh no, it's not a Bible bookie. We were all hanging out and Vin was doing his normal political channel. And then I went in for a shower because he said there was like 5 minutes left, but I knew, and Ben knew, that it was going to be more than 5 minutes. So I hopped in the shower and then I came back out. Sure enough, Vinny was still here. So then he's like, well, guys, good night. And then he was going in for a shower. You got to know, I take like a 15-minute shower. Vin can be in there anywhere from 20 minutes to 3 hours. So when I realized he was going in for the shower, I was like, well, I'm just going to hang out on the channel. I'm going to hang out with my friends. So it was about impeachment, but then it just became, when I took over, then it was not a political thing anymore. It became about whatever people were asking about. And most people know I'm not a huge, I'm not a huge political person. I don't mind a little bit of politics, but I can't do bunches and bunches. I just like hanging out with you guys more. Let's see. Do you only like purple now because of Zonia? No, I don't know why I switched and started. I literally thought that was like the grossest color. I'm like, why would anybody like purple? Actually, this is going to sound really weird. So I'm not even sure why I'm saying this in front of 55 people, but I thought that purple was an embarrassing color. So anytime people wore purple, I felt embarrassed for them. I know that's really weird, but that is literally my mindset. But now I like purple. So it's weird. It's weird because I'm like, why did I think it was embarrassing? I didn't know. Let's see. Thank you, Holly. Yay for Sori chat. What's up, Wyatt? Oh, look, Vin's out. How long have we been chatting? This is one of his short showers. I can't even believe it. I'm going to start laughing. You guys are so funny. I was hoping he was going to come sneaking back in here. Why is purple embarrassing? I really don't know. Hey, Vinny! I hear you. Come here. I heard his feet by the door. Yeah, I know. Purple was that was like the royal color. I've heard that, and it was like the big thing. But I just thought that purple was... I felt like purple was like a color for little girls. Like pale pink, too. I was like, no. Like a bright pink, a red. I like those. Let's see. What is this? It's a... It's been about 50 minutes. See, Calendra? See? I'm glad I hung out with you guys. Silver, you did? You fell asleep in the shower and you were in there for 4.5 hours? You must have been so wrinkly. Can we do 75 for a song without having to do Patreon? Yes. Shift ALV2. You go to Vin and Sori merch at gmail.com, I believe. Hey, Vin! Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's what it is. But if you know what, email us at vinandsori@gmail.com. Oh, wait, actually, hold on a second. I think I can tell you what the thing is. PayPal, vinandsorimerch@gmail.com. That's what it is. So you can go there. How do I get back to this thing? And then you can just send 75 there and tell us which song that you want reacted to. Yo, what happened to my stream? I'm coming back. I can't. You guys, where are you? I'm trying. I'm coming. Oh. There's already a commercial on the front of our video thing here? That's weird. When are the white woman in distress shirts available? LOL. You know what? I haven't made any. Sorry, Vin help Steven get them. Mental health. I don't know. Ben, I feel like you're not serious. Yes, Neil, that's PayPal. That is our PayPal address thing. I thought about making matching in distress shirts. That would be funny. That's too true. It could be in distress because I'm like legit, like where we come from, like people are mad racist here still. I know, like for all you white people listening, you probably think it's crazy and you're like, no, racism is not a thing, blah, blah, blah. I legit thought racism is not a thing. And I would say stuff to Vin before, like, and I didn't realize like how friggin' racist it was. So, like, he was talking about racism one time, and I'm like, here we go again. Racism, right, like it's a thing. I was like, look, you were never a slave. I was never a slave owner. So why are we still having this conversation? And it was, like, super annoying to me. And then I realized, and then I said something one time. I was like, you come mow my lawn. I really did say that. And anyway, then he would talk about it here and there. He never pushed the issue on me, but he would talk about it at different times. And then one time, he showed me the Eric Garner video where they choke the guy out on the sidewalk. And I was like, wait a minute, that's a problem. And then I saw a few more of those videos and I was like, no, yo, this is a problem. This is really a problem. And then in the meantime, like Vin and I, whenever we would hang out, we were like, I had my family, my white family, and he had his family, and his wife was like Spanish. So it was like basically like none of them were white. So people seemed like they were good with that. You had like their little family and our family. But then there was a time Vin and I actually weren't even together. We were helping somebody move something, and you could only fit two in the truck. So Vin and I went because we were the two strongest ones on the crew. So we went to go get this stuff, and like he had to stop and gas up the truck. And when we got out, legit people were grilling us big time. I was like, what is this? I literally had never experienced that in my life, that feeling. I was like, why are these people looking at us like that? And then he was like, and then I'm like, no. And then sure enough, like I see it all the time. There was one time the kids and I were out at this restaurant, and there was these two older white guys that were just staring at us and staring at us. It was starting to scare the kids because they were like saying stuff and looking like angry or whatever. And I was like, yo, I am not good with this. So, yeah, she was Puerto Rican. So I stood up and, like I went over to that table and I was like, why are you guys staring at us? And they were like, well, we were just looking at whatever. And I was like, yeah, well, you're freaking out my kids. So if you guys can not do that, it'd be great. But they were definitely, yeah, it was pretty crazy. Yeah, there are different types and levels of racism. Exactly. Yeah. K2, what did you say? The Eric Garner being choked seems like a bad example to me. He was resisting arrest and he was a large guy. What the heck? K2? They had no right to arrest that guy. And he was saying he couldn't breathe and they were on his neck. And if I cannot believe that if you watch that, the only thing that guy was selling Lucy cigarettes. And you know what? If you look, there is tons of videos of white guys resisting arrest, even firing shots at the cops, and somehow they come out unscathed. We've had active shooters that have come out, and here they are, they're still sitting in jail. Like, why is it that when it's a black guy, all of a sudden, whatever? It's just crazy. Steven. Oh, okay. Well, Steven, if you needed help, just reach out to us through our vinandsori@gmail.com. Okay, so guys, thanks for hanging out with me. I was like, it's probably going to dwindle down to 2 people now that Vinny's not here. And I see people still hung around to hang out with me. Okay, guys, I am headed out. I have to get to bed. I got to get up early. Well, not early, but I got to do school with the kids. And if I'm too tired and then they're like grumpy, it's not a good combo. I have a silly name that I use when I'm like that, so that way they can like be like, oh, that's the bad version of mom. So I get to be grumpy and it's like playful grumpy. All right. Oh, Steven, I see. Okay, guys, have a good night. Love you all. And I hope you guys are enjoying Essentials Week. And it shall continue. Goodbye.